Carter was just like any other teenager. He loved playing video games, hanging out with his friends, and spending time with his family. He was an average student and had no particular talent or skill that set him apart from his peers. However, one day, everything changed. It was a typical day at school, and Carter was in class, bored out of his mind. As he was staring at the chalkboard, he suddenly heard a voice inside his head. At first, he thought he was going crazy, but then he realized that he could hear his classmates' thoughts. Carter was shocked and confused. He tried to shake the thought off, but it persisted. He could hear everything his classmates were thinking, their hopes, fears, and desires. It was overwhelming, and he didn't know what to do. As the day went on, Carter tried to ignore the voices in his head, but he couldn't. It was like a never-ending stream of consciousness, and he felt like he was drowning in it. He didn't know how to control it or make it stop. Carter spent the next few days trying to understand and control his newfound ability. He didn't want to reveal his powers to anyone, so he kept them to himself. One day, he decided to conduct an experiment. He went to a crowded park and started walking around, listening to people's thoughts. At first, it was overwhelming, and he felt like he was drowning in a sea of noise. But gradually, he learned to filter out the irrelevant thoughts and focus on the ones that mattered. As he walked around, he heard a voice that caught his attention. It was a man's voice, and he sounded desperate. Carter followed the voice and soon found himself standing in front of a homeless man who was begging for money. Carter could sense the man's despair and hopelessness. He didn't have much money himself, but he felt compelled to help the man. He approached him and struck up a conversation. The man was surprised to see someone talking to him, and he was even more surprised when Carter offered him some food and money. Carter could sense the man's gratitude and appreciation, and he felt a sense of satisfaction that he had never experienced before. As Carter's powers grew stronger, he realized that there were ethical dilemmas associated with them. He could hear people's darkest secrets and fears, and he had to be careful not to invade their privacy or use his powers for personal gain. One day, he overheard his best friend talking about a girl he had a crush on. Carter was happy for his friend, but soon realized that the girl was already in a relationship with someone else. He felt conflicted. Should he tell his friend the truth or let him find out on his own? Carter didn't want to betray his friend's trust or hurt his feelings, but he also knew that keeping the truth from him could cause more harm than good. After much contemplation, he decided to tell his friend the truth. His friend was devastated, and he accused Carter of ruining his chances with the girl. Carter felt guilty and ashamed. He had tried to do the right thing, but it had backfired on him. The incident strained their friendship, and they stopped talking to each other for a while. Carter realized that his powers had a price, and he had to be prepared to pay it. He promised himself that he would use his abilities responsibly and for the greater good, no matter what the consequences were. As Carter continued to explore his powers, he discovered that he could use them to help others in ways he had never imagined. He began to volunteer at a local hospital where he could sense the pain and suffering of the patients. He used his powers to comfort them and offer them words of encouragement, and he found that it was immensely fulfilling. One day, while volunteering at the hospital, Carter met a young girl who was suffering from a rare disease. She was in a lot of pain, and Carter could feel her fear and despair. He sat with her and talked to her, and he felt a deep connection with her. As he was about to leave, the girl suddenly spoke to him. "I know what you can do," she said. Carter was taken aback. He had never revealed his powers to anyone, not even his closest friends. "I can hear people's thoughts too," the girl said, "but not like you. You're different. You can help people with your gift." Carter was amazed. He had never met anyone like him before, and he felt a sense of relief knowing that he wasn't alone. The girl gave him a piece of paper with a phone number on it. "Call this number," she said. "They can help you." Carter didn't know what to make of it, but he decided to call the number. A woman answered the phone and asked him to come to a certain address. Carter was hesitant, but he felt a sense of curiosity and intrigue. He went to the address and found himself standing in front of a nondescript building. He went inside and found himself in a room filled with other people like him. They were all teenagers with special abilities, ranging from telekinesis to pyrokinesis to clairvoyance. They had all been brought together by an organization that wanted to help them control their powers and use them for good. Carter was amazed. He had never imagined that there were others like him, and he felt a sense of belonging and acceptance. The organization taught Carter how to control his powers and use them for the greater good. He learned how to protect his mind from others and how to read people's thoughts without invading their privacy. They also gave him a mission to use his powers to help others and fight against evil. The organization had a list of targets, including corrupt politicians, drug dealers, and other criminals who were causing harm to society. Carter was hesitant at first. He didn't want to become a vigilante or put himself in danger. But he also knew that he had a responsibility to use his powers for good. He began to work with the organization, using his powers to gather information and expose the truth. He felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. But as he delved deeper into the world of crime fighting, he realized that it was not as simple as he had thought. The targets were not always black and white, and there were often innocent people caught in the crossfire. Carter struggled with the moral implications of his actions. Was he really making a difference? Or was he just adding to the chaos? Was he doing more harm than good? He began to question his place in the world and the purpose of his powers. He wondered if there was a way to use his abilities to make a real difference without causing harm or putting himself in danger. One day, while meditating, Carter had a revelation. He realized that his powers were not just a gift, but a tool. And like any tool, it could be used for good or evil depending on the person wielding it.